Duncan, a school administrator in Manila, discovers an unsettling presence within the institution originally established by nuns. Haunted by spectral encounters and visions, he realizes the school is a haven for malevolent spirits. As he grapples with supernatural occurrences, Duncan's encounters intensify, leading him to a chilling realization: he must confront the malevolent entities to bring peace to the haunted halls. Welcome to Eerie Encounters and Hauntings. We are thrilled to have you join us for 2 new spine-tingling tales of the paranormal each week, stories that will make you shiver with fear and keep you on the edge of your seat. From haunted houses to possessed objects, we have the most bone-chilling tales of the supernatural. Get ready for a terrifying journey into the unknown with our bone-chilling episodes featuring blood-curdling stories that will send shivers down your spine. So hit that like button, share the horror with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. Here's a story that will make you think twice about the things you know. This is entitled School Spirits: Encounters with the Unseen at a Haunted Campus. It was shared to us by Griffin, who's from Porto. Let's get started. Duncan's introduction to the Manila school's many secrets began in a harmless way. His pride as a school administrator was quickly replaced by the unsettling realization that the newly remodeled halls were still home to an unknown force. 3 solemn buildings stood as silent witnesses to the passing of time. However, some employees, including Duncan, couldn't get rid of the creepy feeling that seemed to be lurking in the shadows. One fateful afternoon, as the sounds of teachers leaving faded, Duncan heard a strange plume of smoke calling him to the hallway on the 2nd floor. As he dutifully looked into it, he came across a ghostly image of 2 attractive mestizos dressed in Spanish suits from a long time ago. At first, Duncan thought the vision was just a trick of his mind. But when the ghosts kept coming back, their ghostly eyes locked on him, making him run away in fear, Duncan was horrified. After many years, Duncan's memories of the scary meeting were pushed to the back of his mind. But fate had other ideas when he was thrown into a part that would bring back ghostly sounds from the past. Valeria, a pregnant co-worker, gave Duncan a big job to work on while she was away on maternity leave. He didn't know it yet, but this duty would lead him to a place where the living and the dead meet. Duncan was alone in Valeria's office when he had a scary vision of a woman with long hair wearing a long dress. The room was cool, but it became stuffy as Duncan felt a presence from another world. He was shocked to see that the clear form was Valeria herself. He was trying to talk to someone when his landline rang. It was Clara, a coworker, calling to tell him the sad news that Valeria had died while giving birth. Duncan felt a chill go down his spine when he realized that the school was filled with the ghosts of its past students and staff who would always be there. Duncan felt like he was being watched from that point on. The ghosts that had been hiding in the shadows now seemed to follow him through the halls, classrooms, and offices. As the alumni homecoming got closer, Duncan's fear grew because he thought there would be a lot of ghostly activity. While the event was going on, he saw the ghosts of the original nuns moving through the air with grace, and he could hear whispers in the empty hallways. Duncan knew there was a spiritual force all around him and felt the need to be careful. As the days went by, Duncan's experiences became more supernatural. He heard footsteps reverberating through empty halls, doors slammed shut in gusts of wind he couldn't see, and fleeting figures danced around the edges of his vision. He went to an empty classroom after hearing a child's cries. There was a new handprint on the whiteboard, which made him think of ghostly play. Duncan had vivid nightmares that woke him up in cold sweats and made him feel even more like he was being watched all the time. One terrible night, he stayed late at school and heard his name being called in a whisper. When Duncan turned around, he saw a tall, scary figure with glaring eyes. It was a bad ghost from the school's haunted past. Duncan was shaking after the meeting, and the figure disappeared as quickly as it showed up. Duncan was determined to get rid of the evil spirits that were haunting the school, so he went to a local priest and set up an exorcism. He felt relieved when the evil spirits were sent away, but there was still a spiritual presence. The rite made the ghosts feel better, so they now roamed the halls, happy to live with people. Duncan finally left the school, but the memories of supernatural encounters he had there will always be with him. The ghosts, who were always connected to the school's history, kept wandering around in the air, leaving behind shadows of the past in the hallways. But even after Duncan left, the school continued to be a hub for spectral forces. The air, which had been filled with evil before, was now filled with a strange peace. The ghosts were no longer evil, they were now guardians of the school's rich history, and their ethereal forms floated through the halls as a silent tribute to the past. Duncan's life went on, but the ghostly things that used to scare him were still a part of it. The ghosts' faces danced on the edges of his subconscious in his dreams, and their words lingered in the back of his mind. When Duncan was in everyday scenarios that made him think of school, haunted memories came back to the surface. He could be taken back to the creepy hallways where he had first met the ghostly beings with just a glimpse of a shadow or the sound of a door moving. Some magical mark stayed on Duncan's mind, casting a spell that would never end. Duncan looked into the school's past to find closure. He found forgotten stories and tragedies that had happened inside its walls. The more he dug, the more he realized how deeply the spirits were linked to the school's past. Each ghost was carrying the weight of unfinished business, a quiet reminder of the rough past that had shaped the institution. Duncan went back to the school, but this time not as a manager, but as someone who was looking for strange things. With new information and a better understanding of things, he set out on a trip to talk to the ghosts that still lived in the halls. The school, which was now empty of people, became a safe place for Duncan to study the supernatural. He tried to connect the worlds of the living and the dead by using a tape recording and an open mind. Over time, he became more connected to the spiritual world and started to talk to the ghosts that had scared him before. When people talked to the ghosts, they told stories of love and loss, betrayal and forgiveness. When the ghosts were trapped in the shadows, Duncan's desire to listen brought them comfort. The hallways that used to be filled with the sounds of eerie footsteps were now filled with the voices of the dead telling stories that had been buried for a long time. Duncan's desire to understand turned the school into a safe place for both live and dead people. The ghosts were no longer stuck in the dark, and they joined him on his quest to learn more about the supernatural. Together, they solved the riddles that had stumped humans for a long time, forming an unlikely alliance between realms. As Duncan's contact with the ghosts got stronger, he learned that the supernatural beings were not just at school. They were linked to a larger web of supernatural events that happened all over Manila. The ghosts, which were once scattered echoes of the past, started to put together a story that went beyond the limits of each individual story. The city itself turned into an eerie painting, filled with the ghostly marks of people who had lived there before. Duncan's journey went beyond the school and took him to forgotten areas and rundown buildings that were hiding tales of their own. The ghosts were eager to tell him stories that had never been told before, so they led him through the city's past through the stories of the dead. Duncan's search turned into a record of the supernatural and a living proof that the living and the dead can live together. People used to fear the ghosts, but now they were used to tell stories that were passed down from generation to generation. Duncan became a link between the living and the ghostly tapestry that covered Manila as he learned his way through the city's haunted sites. People who wanted to learn more about the supernatural came to the once haunted school, which is now a hub for ghost research. A place where the line between the living and the dead was thin drew a lot of scholars, reporters, and people who were just plain interested. Duncan, who was now an experienced guide in the spiritual world, greeted each seeker with the knowledge he had gained from talking to the dead. The school halls were filled with the footsteps of both live and dead people, making it hard to tell the difference between the real and the imaginary. Duncan used to be unwilling to see the ghostly events, but now he saw himself as a link between the real world and the spirit world. These strange events that scared Duncan at first now showed that there is a link between the living and the dead that will never go away. The ghosts had been mean in the past, but by interacting with the living, they had found some peace. The school used to be a scary place, but now it was a safe place where stories from the past helped people deal with the present. Over the years, Duncan became a protector of the supernatural. His presence was a source of understanding in a world where the supernatural and the everyday lived together. Once thought to be cursed by a bad spirit, the school now stood as a reminder of how powerful stories can be, both in this world and the next. Duncan's journey from being a scared administrator to an experienced peacemaker showed how the living and the dead dance with each other and showed that there can be peace and understanding even in the most haunted places. If this video left you spellbound, dive deeper into the world of chilling tales by joining our channel, Eerie Encounters and Hauntings. Access a treasure trove of bone-chilling stories waiting for you with new episodes 2 times a week. Spread the fear among your friends and family who crave a good scare and give them goosebumps. We'd love to hear your spine-tingling experiences as well, so don't hesitate to share them in the comments. You can also send us your story so we can feature it in one of our future episodes. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Stay scared. Disclaimer: this video is for entertainment purposes only. The stories depicted in this video are shared by people who believe they are true, but they have not been verified. Any resemblance to real people or events is purely coincidental. The views and opinions expressed in this video are those of the people who shared the stories and do not necessarily reflect the views of YouTube, Google, or Facebook. The channel does not endorse the views expressed in this video. This video is not intended to be used as evidence of any supernatural or paranormal activity. If you are experiencing paranormal activity, please contact a qualified professional.